Welcome to today's video. We are going to go over the 5 biggest mistakes that I see buyers make all the time when it comes to new construction here on Long Island. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through everything that you need to know before buying a new construction home and the 5 big things that you're going to want to watch out for. My name is Anthony Vita with Real Broker, and I'm excited to take you through. So when you're considering new construction, there is going to be a lot of things you're going to want to look at. And in today's short video, we're not going to be able to probably touch on every single thing that you need to know, of course. But over my years, about 10 years in this business, I've identified a couple of things that I always hear from buyers and questions and mistakes that I'm constantly seeing when it comes to new construction. So I wanted to take a minute to take you through exactly what those are. So first off here, let's talk about property taxes. So if you've looked at a new construction home online, whether it's Zillow or an agent's website, if you notice when you go to the tax dollar amount, right, it's either a really low number or sometimes it even shows 0 if the subdivision is incomplete or if it's something like that, right? Now, what do you need to know about this? Well, the first thing is the taxes that are in place, obviously before there was a home there, are only relevant to the taxes for the land, right? So now what's gonna happen is when the property is built, when the home is built there and the land is subdivided for that specific piece, if it's in a subdivision, the town is going to issue a CO on the property once it's done. The CO is going to outline, and it's obviously going to talk about the size of the property, the features of it, etc. Based on that, your first year, your property taxes are still probably going to be just for the land because they haven't caught up yet. Now, what's going to happen is whenever that local township actually issues their new assessments, so if you're building now, let's say in 2025, it may not be until the end of 2026 or 2027 that the new assessment actually gets done. But whenever your local township actually does that, that is when you're actually going to have a full tax bill that's now assessed on the house and the land together. And because of that, of course, the taxes are going to be increased dramatically from when it was just land. Now, once the assessment is done, they're going to create your base year. So if the property was fully assessed and completed in 2025 or 2026, for example, the base year for the property taxes there and going forward is going to be 2025 or 2026, whenever the assessment was issued. Now, a couple of pointers here. The first thing that you're going to want to understand about that is newer homes with a newer base year have higher taxes. And the reason is the way that the township looked at that base year, right, and the way that they valued property taxes at that time is going to be relevant to what the base year was. So you might have a newer construction home that might be smaller for the area. It might be on a smaller size lot, square footage, bedroom size, etc., and have way higher taxes than a property that was built in the 1970s, even though that property might have 5 bedrooms, 3 baths, huge in-ground pool on an acre of property. The taxes on that older home are likely going to be less than on anything that has newer construction. And the reason for that is the base year. Now, the way that taxes work here on Long Island, which is a little bit different than other places, is our properties don't get reassessed based on market value every year, right? They get reassessed and there's a certain assessment value. So it's not like every single year, if you paid $500,000 in 2019 and then they're valuing the home based on a new market value in 2020 of, let's say, $700,000, that your property tax is going to be based off a $700,000 price. It's going to be small incremental increases based upon the base year. But rule of thumb, newer construction homes are going to be at the highest taxed rate for that area versus anything else or other properties there. So newer construction homes tend to have higher taxes than anything that is older, especially if you're looking in the North Shore of Long Island, for example, where we have a lot of older homes. One of the best things about those, like for example, I live in a 1938 house in Suffolk. My taxes are very, very low for the area because my base year is 1938. Now, there has been a lot of talk with the town of Brookhaven and other townships on Long Island, how they're going to deal with base year and when it comes to adjustments on the home, and if you do a certain amount of increases on the home or improvements, they might bring up your base year. Exactly how that works is still kind of up in the air, but rule of thumb is just to know that newer construction homes are going to have some of the highest property taxes in the area. Now, sometimes new construction homes, when they're being built, in order to give an incentive to build, the municipality may issue a partial tax relief or some benefits to homeowners that are buying and the builders that are selling these new construction homes. But exactly what those reliefs are really going to depend on the specific township, the county, etc. So you got to do a little bit of your research there. Another thing that you're going to want to do is call the assessor's office. You can call the local tax clerk. They should be able to tell you when properties are assessed in that time of year. So based on when the house is gonna be done and when that next assessment is going to be completed after that, once the house is completed and a CO is issued, you can kind of get an idea of when those new property taxes are actually gonna kick in. So you can kind of budget for that. Because when the home is first completed, you might have moved in, the taxes might not have caught up yet. You're just gonna have to wait until the next assessment's actually done. So bottom line is the taxes are gonna be higher in the area than other homes, anything that's older. So don't base it off an older property that's right next door. That has nothing to do with how the taxes are gonna be in this new development or for this home, even though that home might be the same size and square footage and lot size. And also, you just wanna know how much generally those taxes may be. Don't ask the builder, don't ask the builder's agent, call the town, try to get an understanding of how the assessment's gonna look, when the assessment's gonna be done, and then they should be able to give you, based on that base year and how the assessment will work, a general idea of new construction in that area. Now, it's not gonna be exact, but at least it will be enough so that you can ballpark and budget when you're speaking with your lender if you're doing a loan and just trying to understand your monthly payment going forward. Now, let's talk about timing, which is another big kicker when it comes to new construction. Now, I know timing in new construction, no matter where you're buying, is always kind of up in the air, but my understanding is in a lot of other states, especially in the South and the Midwest, where new construction is a lot more popular for general huge subdivisions, you usually have a better timeline on completion, and I'm assuming that the timeline for that is probably a little bit more clear from the beginning. Well, here on Long Island, that's gonna be one of the biggest kickers. A lot of people are gonna talk about they built a new home, new construction, and the timing was so delayed, or it was a year past due, or 6 months past due, right? Point is the way our municipalities work, the way permits work here, and the way general construction works here on Long Island, expect delays. Most new construction here, builders are not promising anything for less than a year, maybe 8 months, 7 months at the best. But most of the time, in my experience, you're looking between 12 months to 18 months from the start date. So if you do have a certain time you need to actually be into a home, or you need to sell your other home first, make sure you're working out in that contract some wiggle room. Now, the exact language in the contract, some builders will of course have basic boilerplate language that they're gonna leave in place, but make sure you're going over that specifically with your attorney so you understand at what point are you able to get out of the contract, what updates you're gonna be given throughout the time of the actual build. Are they gonna give you updates? Are you gonna be updated on inspections and when they're done? Can you move in once the CO is issued? Is there other things involved? All these things are gonna play into timing. But the biggest thing that a buyer needs to know when they're looking at new construction is oftentimes there are delays. Oftentimes it's not even in the builder's control. And also you just really want to get an understanding of how you're going to be communicated with throughout the timing of the build. And if you get a good communicator on the other side, a good builder, a good rep that's going to keep you in the loop, at least you'll have timing to plan, and maybe they can give you a 3 months notice when they get closer so you can start to plan the sale of your home if you do have a home to sell. All right, so inspections is another big one. A lot of buyers think that they don't have to do an inspection on a new home because it's being inspected by the local building department. Well, a couple pointers here. The first thing is going to be that the local building department isn't necessarily going in and testing appliances and things like that. They're looking at the structural integrity of the home, rough plumbing, electric, and finishing stuff. They're not going around the entire house and testing everything. So it's important to put into your contract that you are going to do your own home inspection with your own private inspector, third-party inspector, once the home is completed to make sure that everything is in good working order. Now, you might also want to add in there, of course, a final walkthrough with some of that language. You can, of course, speak to your attorney about the best way to structure that, but getting your own home inspection is going to be key. Now, regarding the building permit inspector from the local township for those items like I mentioned, rough plumbing, electric, structural integrity, the entire build start to finish, those inspections are going to be public information. You can request a FOIL from the local township. It might take 2 to 4 weeks. I've talked about this in a lot of my other videos, but utilizing the public information center is going to be a really good idea for this way you can really get an idea of how those inspections went. Did they have to do a ton of repairs and changes every single time? Did they fail a lot of inspections and had to make changes? So at least you'll get an idea of how that inspection process went and how the builder did with that. Now, every house is different and every build is unique, but at least by looking at those, you'll get an idea of how the inspections went and if they did have to make a lot of repairs and changes. Another big one here is going to be the lack of representation for buyers. So a lot of times with new construction, a buyer might just see a sign in a woods where there's going to be a new subdivision or just a big empty field with a sign there, and that's the first time that they actually hear about the new construction opportunity. So they go ahead and they make the call, and next thing they know, they're working directly with the builder or directly with the builder's rep, agent, broker, wherever you want want to call them. Now, it's not to say that it's totally wrong or anything like that, of course, but just like in any other field, everyone's entitled to representation. So if you're not getting your own representation, you just have to understand that that agent might be a dual agent or a dual broker or whatever they want to call themselves. Most of the times in new construction, they're still the builder's rep. So at the end of the day, their fiduciary responsibility isn't really going to be to you. Now, this is something you're gonna look at in any real estate transaction, but especially one with new construction where there's a lot involved. You're gonna have a lot of questions, a lot of time, a lot of things to know specifically about that process. It's more important than ever to have your own representation, especially when it comes to value understanding new construction. That's gonna be key there. Maybe you're not doing a loan, you're buying cash, there's no appraisal. A lot of other things involved there, but point is, if you're going into a case directly to the builder and directly to the builder's rep, you want to make sure that you're aware of this, that you're not really having your own representation. So for somebody who's never bought a new construction home before, it's really going to be crucial to make sure you're seeking the proper representation throughout the entire process, start to finish. Now be careful, if you make that call or you go directly to the builder off the start, it's usually a little bit hard then after to bring your own representative in, your own agent, your own broker, and try to bring them in the deal and then also have the builder compensate them. At that point, in my experience, it's a little bit tough to make that case, which is understandable. So the best thing is, if you're looking at new construction or thinking about it, speak to a local broker who has a good understanding of it before you reach out at all. This way they can give you all the details, the specs, floor plans, etc., and start that conversation directly with the builder through your representative. Now, I want to wrap up today's video with one more good point, and that's going to be builder credibility. It is crucial here to get an understanding of who is building your home. Now, just as if you were to buy land yourself and then hire a private builder, of course you would interview multiple parties. Just like if you're going to sell your home or buy your home, it's a great idea to interview multiple brokers to make sure you're choosing the person that's best for you, aligns with your interests, needs, etc., right? And obviously we hope that they have a good idea of how to actually build a house or represent you throughout the process. Well, the same thing goes here. A lot of our new construction here on Long Island, the buyer isn't just buying land themselves and then building a house. Sometimes, but most of the time, the builder bought the land and now is developing the land to sell to an end user buyer like yourself. So with that, you're gonna wanna make sure you're doing your due diligence on who that builder is, just like you would interview anybody else you'd hire for a job. Now, online is a great way to do that. Check their reviews, check other builds that they've done, see if they have testimonials, see if there's other developments that you can walk through that they've done already. Even just one-off builds, can you walk through them? Can you get an idea? Can you speak with the people who actually live in those houses and bought from them? How was their experience? How was the timing? How are the inspections? All the things that are going to be on your mind that are going to come up. I can help you create a detailed list on what that is. I do it all the time. But having good testimonials, being able to get an indicator of that builder's credibility, checking if there's been in previous lawsuits or any other bills they've had issues with, is a really good way to make sure you're not signing yourself into a contract, into a rabbit hole that's going to be really drawn out and cause a lot of stress and a lot of issues. I have worked with builders who have built 1 or 2 properties. They've done a fine job. And I've also worked with builders who have built 100+ homes in their lifetime and have solely made that their whole book of business. The way that process is done really depends on the experience there and the credibility and their process. And all that's going to kind of trickle down to you as the buyer and your stress and happiness with the deal from start to finish. So those are a couple things that I would look for when it comes to builder credibility. Just do your own research. All right, guys, that wraps up today's video about the 5 major mistakes I'm constantly seeing buyers make when it comes to new construction. All of my info is below. Again, my name is Anthony Vita with Real Broker. Thank you for tuning in today. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me below in the comments or also in the description where you can find access to all of my pages. Thank you, and I'll speak to you soon.